We're TMAC. We help businesses make better decisions faster. We specialize in delivering artificial intelligence and machine learning solutions quickly, but to a high standard in customer engagement, marketing, customer service, and coaching. We believe that everything has been done before and that it can be done quickly. So, if you're tired of being told to wait whilst also being overcharged, visit our website at tmac.ai/vid for more information. Hi, I'm Michael Leroy. I'm Chief Marketing Officer at TMAC, and this is the first edition of TMAC Talks. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Hosang, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer.
Hi, I'm Sean Northam. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer.
And I'm Mike Smith, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer.
And we're here for the first edition of TMAC Talks. Today, we're going to talk about one of our favorite topics, or one of our favorite metrics, rather, I guess, which is NPS, or Net Promoter Score. And I think I'm just going to put it out there on the table. I think it's dead. What do you guys think?
I think it's always been dead. I think personally, for some industries it works, but for most industries it's like a bullshit metric of a bygone age, and people need to kind of move past and through like the NPS is king, and it's the metric through which like all of your customer experience is measured, and move on to things that actually matter to customers, like things like customer effort, things like overall sentiment of calls, things that actually like will drive value for a customer, not trying to be super needy and say please recommend me to your friends.
Yeah.
I think it's less about saying it's dead. I think it's probably served the time and now needs to evolve. And to Jimmy's point, I think customer effort, it's more about that individual interaction at that time, what the importance was and what the outcome was, and how you were left feeling at that interaction, rather than kind of more broad about the company and the business. I think it's about every touch point, every time, and getting that feedback around whatever stage in the journey you're in.
Okay. And I think it helped. I think it did serve a purpose. If you were, totally a sales-focused organisation and you needed to evolve your thinking to be more customer-focused, and you wanted to both speak internally and externally to that, and you didn't have a great deal of analytics, that was a way to start that conversation, right? I think we then began to think that was a panacea, and that anything could be NPS'd, even an individual contact centre agent could be NPS'd, and somehow magically they would know what to do to improve their NPS. I think we've got to be better than that now. We've got the technology, we've got AI, we've got machine learning. There's a whole host of ways to be better than that, and we just need to move the industry on.
Yeah.
And I'll add this, right? There's probably some slight irony because I've probably been personally responsible for introducing NPS and CSAT into at least 2 organisations' individual agent contact centre incentive schemes, because there was nothing else. Because I wanted to start a conversation in the contact centre about the customer, but we can do better now.
But do you think so it's you to blame, really?
I'll take that.
Yeah. I'm glad we've got someone to blame because it definitely wasn't me. But do you think like it even at a kind of an industry level, industry by industry, does it even work? So if you're working for like a supermarket, like supermarkets come up in conversation, like I just popped to Tesco's, I just popped to Sainsbury's, I just popped somewhere, like people talk about that. Who talks about life insurance?
So you're gonna nick Paul Banks' meme?
Yeah. But
who casually talks about an operating system to their friends? So.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so true though.
Yeah, but who?
But I think I agree. But I do think you've got like product, you've got price. Service now is a big differentiator. So actually, if I bought life insurance from here and I didn't have a great service, then I'm more likely going to tell you I didn't have a good experience, which would put you off.
Yeah.
If I had a great experience, and great by whatever definition, right? Great digital landscape, great app, great customer service when I picked up the phone, quick times for email, whatever that great looks like for you, But then why wouldn't I? I might still have a conversation because price and product's one thing, and that's really competitive. Service now is a differentiator. And I'm not saying NPS is the right thing to track that, but the way it works had the right narrative around it or how it was trying to get across.
But what is sorry to interrupt. What is the NPS question?
Yes.
So the NPS question is like, based on your X today, how likely are you to recommend? Well, when are you going to talk? When are you just casually talking about your car insurance? Just like what's your motor legal protection? What sort of cover do you have on your breakdown? Like, when does it come up in your conversation?
But I think that's part of the problem, right? So like NPS is too vague. Like even if it says like how is this one interaction, too many companies I think will take that as a proxy for product satisfaction, or looking at the reflecting on the overall service, or reflecting on the purchase journey. When in reality, like all these things are very different. They all need their own kind of gauges, I think, or they need to be incorporated into a metric which can reflect those gauges more accurately.
Well, I think as a business, I still feel like it's a good metric to get qualitative data to understand what's happening. It's when you try and force it to someone else. So to Mike's point, agent level NPS. Like I've coached and managed people, and then you get feedback. You're going, I don't recommend Mike, and Mike gets scored down because the system failed online. Well, that's not Mike's fault. So we're trying to take one measure and make it do multiple things. But as a business proxy, like you say, I think it can work at individual user level when you're probably only doing 0.5% to 1% of your population are getting this survey. It's not representative.
And then agents just game it.
Of course, they game it, and I think you get a few things, don't you? You can get like cherry picking. You can get like customer leading. Oh, there'll be a survey. If you give me a good score, my manager will be pleased. I'll get a bonus. You hear all of that. You're pushing AHT into your model and onto the customer. And you also get a bit of, I might be susceptible to work in the industry. I will never blame the agent. So if I listen to the question and it asks about the agent, I'll always give that a score. Company walks away thinking, we're great. Company's shite. The agent's shite, right?
Yeah.
It's the mechanism. So without going into different clients though, it's the mechanism that people use as well, the triggers that target NPS. So I've worked in operations where it's when you get a refund, these people get a survey. Rather than the people who complain that you've logged in, you've hung up on them, it's the people you've given a refund to.
Survey those.
It's these people that haven't been escalated. As you say, I could go send them a survey. No, they're not going to talk. I don't send them. So it's not, again,
This is why it's dead though, because it's a vanity metric.
It is a vanity metric.
That's a good
because
point.
it's not. It doesn't actually reflect anything. It's trying to reflect everything.
But at an organisational level, if you could, I want to speak to 50,000 of my customers more generically about TMAC brand and how we do business and get a net promoter score, I still think that works. But trying to get agents to measure it all different journeys, then it's just lost. That's the use of the application rather than the measure for me.
I've done analysis on like correlating different types of metric to like overall kind of profitability, revenue, and things like that. And NPS like works maybe 10% of the time, 10% of the time, 20% of the time, and that's for companies that have kind of thought about. So number one, like, what about fallow periods? So are you gonna, if a customer calls in like today, are you gonna survey them like every single time that they call up? So you've got like true touch point NPS. Well, then what surveying companies will say is, but that's going to cost you a fortune.
Or they just refuse to resurvey the customer. So I can't survey that customer, surveyed them 2 days ago. Right, but that was their first contact, right? So why have they had to ring back?
Yeah.
So you're excluding the sort of repeat caller from the survey process by making that decision.
Exactly.
And that repeat caller is probably going to be the one who says, actually, I'm not happy now because it wasn't one and done.
Exactly, and that's why, maybe I'm being like a bit harsh, but that's why it doesn't correlate. Because what happens is, it's a vanity measure. It looks flat. Just like, we know that we lost 2 service centres last week. Like one of them went down, and then one of them got overloaded because the other one was down. So we lost all service. There was 178,000% abandonment rates. NPS just absolutely nailing it. So how can and people like scratch their heads like what's going on? I just don't think. I think they've gone up top down. Like we need to start doing NPS rather than bottom up. Like how do we properly measure like customer satisfaction, like the customer perception? I also think as well like the consumers are smart, so they've just started to game it.
Yeah.
So
if I put a 0,
yeah.
then I might go to an intervention team and they'll ring me back and then I'll get what I want. And I do that all the time. But if I put a 0 on this NPS, then hopefully their like customer rescue team will ring me and then I can fast track this thing.
But in itself, like that's a horrible state of affairs. That, you know, like that like businesses have, you know, that's even happening amongst consumers. You know, like and I think it goes back to this idea of it being a vanity metric and something that's being imposed on teams, like without really the proper thought or strategy behind. How do we actually make sure that we're guaranteeing the right customer experiences? It's about actually product strategy, about the experience itself, and like tying them together in a meaningful way.
Yeah, no, this is the other thing I chuck. So we're about actionable insight, right? That's how we make a living.
Yeah.
All of us, right? What actions do you take to drive up your NPS? Like how many rooms, not as posh as this, have I sat in and everyone got NPS is down a bit, what should we do? Like, so the link between the number and the action you take to fix the number, it exists in middle management's head. Right? It's not let's be less shit, guys.
And you go, last month we took 50,000 interactions. These 100 customers have told us these things, and 10 of those have said this.
Yeah.
So now we need to fix
something.
Payments is broke.
Yeah.
Because 10 people out of 50,000 have said it's broke, and you go down this rabbit hole of fixing, changing, driving
It's
transformation, and nothing moves.
It's not a
Well,
data-led
actually,
decision.
It didn't even make any difference. So, yeah.
Well, but so we obviously we can't just like hate on NPS without giving some sort of meaningful alternative. So, what would we do if we had a blank slate?
I think so. Personally, so when I talked about like the analysis that I'd done, so if you were going to say we still want to keep surveys, but we want to but we want something that actually correlates with the customer experience. What I found was probably 30 to 40% of the time, something that's more correlated to like customer satisfaction is effort. And more so like in today's like busy lives, like we've got so many things that are like demanding of our attention. Like, and I'm not even saying that surveys are correct. I just believe that when I've done the analysis, customer effort was always more key. It had more variation, and it has more. It was more correlated to like the ebbs and flows of the business. That's what my perception is anyway.
I think there's a bit for me. I'm a bit old school in this. There's customers will vote their actions, right? So if your customers are buying from you, buying more from you, staying with you, then and they're doing that across all your channels, then that's surely more powerful than trying to get 0.1 on an NPS. So to me, focus on those metrics. And if you get those right, and you know, customers have choice these days, right? So you can't get those right just by selling. You've got to get those right by providing a great service. If those things are right, then I'm much more interested in that than a marginal point on a survey that 10 people did that we now run around. You know, I want real action on real things that affect real customers. And I know that's probably a bit old school, like.
No, but I think that's really powerful. Like, it's definitely right. I think like, but there does need to be like a connection between like traditional kind of performance metrics, I think, and like the stuff that helps inform future product strategy and future customer engagement strategy or what have you. And I suppose that's where I find that like actually looking at product engagement as a proxy for customer satisfaction or even trying to combine that with say customer effort, saying how does that all work together in one number that can be used by the business?
Do you think though that again, so NPS, CSAT, things like that was around what came at a time when you couldn't connect your operations to your finances?
Well, I think the industry is still wrestling with that, right? Because there's analytics, but the customer journeys are normally segmented across multiple channels, multiple touch points. I'm trying to
multiple teams.
multiple teams. I'm trying to join that journey up to see what's really happening and get like a customer effort score. Hard. Chuck out a survey. Well, I can go on LinkedIn and there'll be 30 suppliers very, very happy to speak to me today, right?
So do you think it's like what do you call it? The magic bit of tin that solves all your problems? I think like we've got a problem, we'll just survey.
I think it's one part of a complicated. It's not complicated, right? But it's one component, right? So I still believe as a business measure from top down, it can work and it can serve a purpose.
Pushing it.
Well, what I think is more interesting for me is that then how do you connect all the other dots, right? The interaction stuff we talk about. So if I'm filling an application form in, or I'm on an online portal, or I'm interacting with a contact center, or a field agent, or a store, whatever it is, how do you join all of those pieces together? And back to your point, it's not NPS at that stage. Then it's how did you leave me feeling after that interaction or that touch point, and that could be speech analytics through sentiment and negative language. It could be web analytics and looking at journey drop-offs and where things are failing. The time you spend at a till or in a store environment, all of those
frequency, amount of money spent, like all of these things could be, they are incorporated into one metric and used in that way. But I think what you're getting at as well is just really interesting, and probably the interesting point at which Sean maybe disagrees with us. But I think one of the good things about NPS, right, is that like it is one thing that people can understand, and that's very easy. But the other side of that coin is that it's reductive then, and so it's simplifying, something, as we mentioned, like what is very complex into something very small. And so I think the trick is to develop a metric which is reflective of the complexity of all modern businesses, but is and also easy to understand. It's easy to understand what are the drivers of that metric. Is it recency? Is it frequency? Is it effort? Is it value? Those sorts of things.
But is there a one? So NPS is kind of industry node. So but is that what we need to move away from? And actually,
I think so.
Different industries, different parts of the business has their own unique.
You're seeing that now. Famously, and I know this because that's my background, like in publishing and media. Like newspaper publishers have been forced to look at alternative metrics other than NPS because it's in suit the complexity of the business. The Financial Times did it first. They created like their kind of own metric, and then the Times came after that. I know because I was there.
He's to those as well.
How long did it take for him to drop that one? I believe that so it's industry specific. I think NPS still has a place in certain industries, but if you can
it's not fully dead.
Well,
semi.
I'll throw you both.
I'm
all right, okay.
Feel the long
just because it's not 3-on-1. Right. No, if you can connect your customer, the customers that are contacting you, to their future value, so what they reorder, the recency, frequency, all that type of stuff, the basket, and do the basket analysis. Then what is the need for NPS? If you can build a model which says, based on all of these data points that the customers come through on any specific scale for any specific query, you can then forecast what is the 1 year, 2 year, 3 year value of that customer based on that experience. Then going back, really, why do you need NPS? Why when you can already create that metric?
Which again I agree with, but I think so it's not about NPS is dead today. What we're really saying is we want to kill it in the future, but what we really need to do as an industry is think about the right solutions and the right problems we're trying to fix, and then come up with the right, whatever it might be in the future, OKRs, measures, KPIs that serve the need of that industry.
But we work together on a project which tries to take contacts, right, and then predict detractors. So you take speech analytics, you take AHT, transfers, all this type of stuff, and you predict. And the spec into us was, can you predict a detractor? When you think about that, that's absolute bollocks, isn't it? Because all we're trying to do is we're trying to predict whether or not someone's going to detract
of an already flawed system.
Whereas what we should be saying is what is the chances of them ordering again? Like, so
But,
yeah.
but again, I don't think it. Again, I think it's maybe the conversation needs to go. How do we kill it in the future? Because look, we've all worked in businesses where they don't have data, they don't have analytics, they don't understand what works. Those 10 customers who talk about payment is all they can go from. So unless it's call listening or gut feel, that's the best thing they've got. So how do we move to a world where we use interactions and we use data and we use analytics to drive everything that we're trying to do in the right way?
I actually completely agree. So
Wrap that as a cut. As a cut. I never agree.
I get the train now.
So I actually agree. You should be getting like qualitative feedback. My challenge is when the first question of your survey is that well, based on your service today, how likely to recommend, then you waste a perfectly good contact where you could be getting something that's substantial and qualitative from a qualitative perspective, rather than asking that question first. And you know that they front load that question first. And in fact, you might have NPS first, then you might have CSAT, then you might have customer effort, and then leave your comments. So how many people leave the comments? Very few, because they've had to SMS or get through
So let's talk about
IVR. Sorry, just before we get to that, IVR.
I would agree with see if you agree with this. So let's just pick a really plain journey, right? You take a call, probably a week later you might get a survey and you're asking about the service you got 7 days ago, plus loads of things happened in between. That's fine, but what can't I get out of that initial call there and then that the survey's going to tell me anyway? So if you had speech analytics, you had everything in place, what is that survey actually going to tell me that I don't probably already know or that I couldn't pick up from all of that data that we've gathered?
Exactly.
I think, well,
Wait, are you saying that you don't think it's worth surveying customers?
I don't think it's worth surveying customers to get an outcome about your agent experience, because that's not going to give you anything. I do agree, as a top-down organisation, a broader holistic view of these measures and understanding of, well, what do people think about TMAC as a brand? Are we, the awareness? Would they use us again? Client feedback. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't manage one of my team and go and sell to X company or work with this company and then go and ask them for feedback about TMAC, because it's about this person here and now. They're the face of everything we're trying to do.
In fact, actually, sorry, I disagree.
Sorry,
I disagree. No, sorry.
We knew it was serious.
So I agreed with what can't you get out of the call, but we're British, so you'd be my contact centre. No, well, you'll get there eventually.
One day soon.
When you can pass the test.
So you're my contact centre agent, right? Mike's your team leader. I've called up, I want a better price. You with your inimitable skills, bludgeon me into submission, and I'll go, yeah, that's fine. That could sound like a really reasonable call where you've got the best for the company. Me then being able to feed back and go, actually, I was bludgeoned into submission.
Surely then you'd be looking to make sure that this person doesn't cancel or return. So if I sold you a service, so really what you're saying is I might miss-sell, kind of, to get the right deal. No,
Have we started this conversation where I was the quantitative one and you're like NPS, and then it's all coming back around?
Okay, so just go to that example though. So let's say Sean is a habitual, should we say, pressure seller, right? Now, only a very fraction of his customers are going to get surveyed, and only some of them, because they're British, will bother to take a survey, and only some of them, because they're British, will bother to say, Sean bullied me into that, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't work, right? So Sean is habitually pressure selling. That's got to be picked up through a better system than NPS.
Well, you'd be looking at my attrition or my cancellations or just the repeatability of shop, whatever it might be.
But I take your point is what people say on the phone and what they say on the survey can be two very different things.
Yeah.
But it's what you're getting on the phone is every single call analysed. If you've got speech analytics, run through models. What you're getting on the survey is like a fraction of that run through the lens of a sort of numerical system that sounds like a magic trick, Like take this, multiply that, multiply it by 7, and always get back to 7, right?
By the way, NPS, the way in which they do that calculation, still it's baffles.
Let's take that off that. Oh, we don't like that. We don't take the 7s off. Just take the 6s.
Round it up, multiply by Exactly.
Yeah.
There you are.
Yeah. Did you get 7?
Well done, Jimmy. This week you're minus 67. What? How can I be a minus?
We're TMAC. We help businesses make better decisions faster. We specialize in delivering artificial intelligence and machine learning solutions quickly, but to a high standard in customer engagement, marketing, customer service, and coaching. We believe that everything has been done before and that it can be done quickly. So, if you're tired of being told to wait whilst also being overcharged, visit our website at tmac.ai/vid for more information.